Oh, I went there with pregnant bears and the wrong zoo, but I know the right zoo that I like to be in and be with these two lovely ladies. I gotta bring in our 360 view. We turn to our political panel, founder of Babes in the Workplace, Reese Discusses, and conservative commentator, Rory Riley Toppings. And ladies, I have to be honest with you, this is not going to be a typical segment that we have because it's not really going to be political. It's going off of kind of the Victoria's Secret image, and now that it is going away, and the question is, what is it good for our society that this fashion show after 18 years is going off air, and what do you think really caused it? I'm going to start with you, Reese.
Okay. So here's what happened. Scotty, we have a classic case of if a child does not feel the warmth of a village, it will burn down the village to feel its warmth. I believe that's an African proverb, the child who is not embraced by the village. Right now, what we have are people saying, who needs Victoria's Secret? I don't care about Victoria's Secret. Why? Because they felt the backlash when Ed Razek made a statement saying that it wasn't the fantasy to put forward the image of plus size and transsexuals in the fashion show. And why is that? Because Victoria's Secret was created as a brand to cater to straight white men. And so because that fantasy was so limited, and because we're in a place now where we're willing to expand and find beauty everywhere that beauty exists, wherever there are women in whatever shape, fashion, size that they are, whatever skin complexion, whatever height, right now we're pushing back on that standard. And because we're pushing back and rejecting that standard, Victoria's Secret's finding that there's no place for them to sit, just like in musical chairs.
Well, and Rory, Reese puts up a very good point talking about the idea of what the CFO of the brand said, talking about it's not a fantasy of women. But I also have to look at the Jeffrey Epstein connection right now that they're talking about with Victoria's Secret. How much do you think that has to put into play? Is that's obviously put this brand under the spotlight saying, look, you look at these women, you sexify them, you objectify them. What else would you expect them to be involved in such a large sex trafficking ring, possibly?
So I certainly think that that's something that probably influences this a little bit, but I think big picture, there's a much simpler explanation for part of Victoria's Secret downfall and why the fashion show is going away, and that's technology. Technology over morality. While it might make us feel good to say that we as a society have come so long and we embrace beauty in all of its forms, people can ogle women on social media, they can go on Instagram, they can go on the internet. They don't have to wait for an annual fashion show in order to do it. So I think that there are many things that just die a slow, natural death because of the evolution of technology, and Victoria's Secret is one of them. People still travel even though we don't have travel agents, and people still make phone calls even though we don't have phone booths. People are, unfortunately, and straight men in particular who created this brand, Victoria's Secret, they're still going to ogle women even without this fashion show. We have to be realistic about the fact that they're just going to the internet to do it instead.
Well, and I like being realistic, and that's what I want to look at. Rory, when you watch these women, it's been a very popular show for 18 years, but also other shows like this. Does that help or hurt a society's view on the role that women have today? In fact, I just read an article that came out that said women that make more than their husbands do are actually destroying their marriage. And so now they're trying to say, women, you need to make less than your husband does. Don't be as successful. Do these sorts of comments, these things help put women forward in society?
Well, I think that just, again, this fashion show in particular, I don't think it influences most people's lives. I don't think it influences most women's lives. So in terms of what you're earning, your marriage, those are more important things. And I know when I'm having conversations at home with my husband about income, our marriage, happiness, Victoria's Secret just doesn't factor in it. It doesn't come into play. So I think that, people are putting a little too much emphasis on this. I don't think that there are a lot of women who particularly care about this issue as much as perhaps some of the men who we talked about that this brand was created for.
Well, and Reese, but I look at that fashion show and how many men, and I have to wonder, do men look at those women and say, why does my wife not look like that? Why does my girlfriend? Does that sort of show give an unrealistic idea of what women are supposed to be for men that are looking for those type of women.
Absolutely. And for many, many years, the 24 years that the show has gone on, it's been the place where people turn to see what the idea of an ideal woman looks like. It's kind of like Miss America pageant when they do the swimsuit section and they come out in the bikinis and everyone's a perfect size 0 with the perfect size, breast size, and everyone's, hips are a perfect ratio. The Victoria's Secret fashion show has typically been another example of what Hollywood or what the beauty industry has set as what we deem as beautiful, or what they've deemed as beautiful, and we as a people have been basically just forced to accept it. And now people are kind of looking at it and saying, you know what, we don't have to accept your definition. Millennials are finding beauty in their own way, and in they're pushing back on what that status quo of beauty used to be in that definition. And now you see companies like Fenty, created by Rihanna, which have a huge following, doing fashion shows where they embrace women who are plus size, women who are pregnant, women who don't have a traditional body size. So this is what we're doing now, is saying no more of those standards.
Well, Reese, Rory, thank you so much. I think you're both beautiful, and I thank you for letting us have a beautiful conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.